Hey folks, I am Leah Song, one part of Rising Appalachia, here with my dear friend.
I'm Jade Sanchez, one part of Earth-Based Media.
Yeah. And we just wanted to talk a little bit about the making of Agua de la Madre. Jade is the amazing mind behind the video, as well as the dancer and choreographer and film producer and many other titles, woman of many hats. So we just wanted to take a minute to talk about that process and the artistry behind it. Agua de la Madre, which was our first full-length music video collaboration, even though it's not the first one to come out. It was our first one, is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we did just some like casual imagery for folk and anchor, but this was like the first like deep dive into like creating a whole world. I would say.
And you totally created a world. And it's so beautiful. And it's coming out. By the time you see this, it will be out in your world. So
just a couple of days.
Yeah. I just kind of wanted you to talk a little bit about your creative process and kind of your imagery, because I've loved watching your building of storyboards and the worlds that you create. And this Agua de la Madre is a song that I wrote after spending many years living in Latin America, and as we were kind of building the ideas and kind of the Appalachian and Latin American influences, how did you kind of pull the imagery down from the song, from the sky, from the earth?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I want to say like y'all made it pretty easy because the song really invoked a lot of inspiration and movement within me when I first heard it. And I remember you sent about like, I don't know, like 8 different songs, and I was going through them.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I heard this one, and it was in Spanish, and it was about the earth and the mother and the waters, and I was like, oh, that is the one.
That's the one.
So I let you know right away, and we were like, okay, let's do it. And I think we workshopped like a lot of ideas. We're like, oh, should we go to Mexico to film it? Should we do it here? Should we do like a giant choreography? Like, what are we gonna do for this song? And you had just did a show in New Mexico, and you're like, oh, this place is so vibrant and amazing. Like, I don't know, I'm getting like a hit on this. And so yeah, we just decided that we would just go to New Mexico and create there. And the creative process for this video was so different than any other video that we've done. Cool. Like, I feel like working with you guys in general, like, you have a very unique way of creating art where I feel like you guys just are really in tune to what's present rather than like an excessive amount of planning. Yeah. So you kind of
sometimes the plus, sometimes it's a minus.
It's awesome.
I like to roll with it.
Yeah. It was cool because it brought me back into that like creative space kind of where I started making art in the first place, where it wasn't like all these expectations. It was more of just like go see like what is gonna happen.
Yeah.
Which was beautiful. So yeah, the creative process was kind of more in the costuming, in the jewelry, in the casting, and less of like creating a story and then going and finding and being really present with these places in nature to find like where it wanted to be told. And then Summit did a really beautiful job at taking like my ideas and integrating it with the natural elements and the surroundings and in
we
nature.
Love
Summit. Yeah, so that it was a very unique process because of that, and it required a lot of presence, I would say.
Yeah. And I really love that you pulled in your Mexican American ancestry, and then we pulled in the lineage of Appalachia, which is where we all are, into some of the storytelling. So it had this, both the feeling of the desert pulse and also, the bloodline pulse and the forests. And to me, that was a really exciting crossroads, was the imagery of the Latin American culture and the Appalachian, space. And I'm curious if that was easy to integrate visually, or if it was challenging to put those two pieces together.
Yeah, well, surprisingly, it actually was very easy. I really have always loved the style of like contrasting imagery.
Mm-hmm.
And so to put those together was actually very exciting. And it kind of created just like a whole, I don't know, even like with this song, it's such a fusion of different cultures too
Right.
coming together. So it just made sense for the video imagery to have that aspect as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in the making of Agua de la Madre, which you and Earth-based media have done such an amazing job with, your work is so often tied to like the archetypal feminine, I think, and I think both in the actual, you know, female figures that are dancers and characters, but also in like the feminine of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And does that feel like those two intertwine for you? And do you do that on purpose, or is it just like part of the magic alchemy of what everyone is like kind of culminating to make?
Oh, that's a really beautiful thing to say. So thank you. Yeah, I feel like a big portion of my life revolves around just being in tune with the natural rhythms of the feminine and like within myself and just like within sisterhood and friendships with women in dance. So yeah, like through that I've learned just how cycle based we are as women.
Totally.
And with studying that, it's brought so much inspiration seeing that reflection in nature.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, we have our cycles that we go through every month, but then also the cycles of like maiden, mother, crone, child, maiden, mother, and crone.
Mm-hmm.
And so just like being really in tune with that is just really, yeah, just really helped me see that without like the earth is that cycle as well. So I find them very related because they're just reflections of each other, and women are just beautiful cycles, and so is the earth.
Totally. Yeah, I love that. That's what this tattoo is about too.
Oh, really?
It's like my kind of testimony to the cycles of the earth, the cycles of the body, the cycles of life also, that you move through all these phases, but you grow each season a little wider.
I love that.
So I love that you tied that in.
Oh, that's really beautiful. Yeah, I really love just the process of finding beauty in all of the cycles too, and like every moment of life you're in a new part of the cycle, so just really finding presence and beauty in that. And that's what I hope the viewer sees when they watch our videos or just tune into the subtle stories that reside within the videos.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's very archetypal, and I think that was so exciting for Chloe and I, because our music videos have always been a really creative part of our work, but it's often been a linear thing. Here's the story, tell the story. And I feel like when we were all working on building this video, it was like, oh, we don't want it to be this linear story. We want it to be a cycle. Like all these elements are coming in, and there's sort of ethereal visuals and what I think of, and I say often, is archetypal visuals, just like the imagery. I think of the woman in the red with the moon, you know, and like just that each image, or the you holding the vessel, and it's just the fabrics and this beautiful clay pot. Like every scene felt like it could have been a still photo.
Oh, wow.
And I love that part of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was amazing. There's not even a question there, just kind of like a wow.
Oh, yeah, I love creating those like kind of iconic moments with the earth and just different symbology like that, like the moon and the vessel. So I'm happy that you felt that, because sometimes it just feels like breathing to me. Like it feels very natural. So I don't know if people catch those things.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And I think it's the most beautiful way to be creative, is to not try and make, with music as well. It's not just, oh, here's the story and here's the end of the story. It's a lot more ethereal, and I don't know if vague is the right word, but like
subtle, maybe.
It's subtle. Subtle. Also, it's the very first time that Kaleo, my sister's beautiful, healthy, stout little baby boy.
Definitely not the last.
No, probably not his very first cameo. And that was really special for us to kind of have as sisters and with a young son. And I know Earth-Based Media is a partnership. So there was like all these triangulations of partnership, you know, mother and son, sisters, family, beloveds.
Yeah.
And I really felt that portrayed as well. And I'd love to know your feelings kind of filming with all those triangulations.
Wow, yeah. No, that when you brought that up, I was like, wow, that's so powerful, because relationships and also like creating art is one of the deepest, like most potent things ever, I would say. Because art is just so deep. And then when you bring another person that you love so closely, that also like knows you so well and you're so close, like you guys touch depths together, and there's so much like tenderness within that. So like that's why you and Chloe's music is so powerful, because you guys have like one of the most beautiful connections, like a sisterhood, like a real sisters, and then like going into those places together, like I imagine that is just like otherworldly. And yes, Summit and I have been together for 6 years, and we've been doing Earth-Based Media for almost the entire time. It's been, I think, 4 years we've been at it. But yeah, same thing. It's just incredibly deep creating together. And then, yeah, then Chloe with her son.
Yeah.
That's just like, it was such a tender time doing that scene. It was like, it felt like really, because he was such a baby. They're so tender. Yeah.
He doesn't know that he has a cameo yet.
He'll know when he's older.
It's true though, like the art making, it's like it's more vulnerable but also more raw and more powerful than almost any other state that we get to exist in. And how lucky all of us that are able to create with beloveds, with family. And you know, I've always been so thankful to have partnership in the creative realms, because it's a very powerful thing to be a rogue artist too. Sometimes in the solitude, you can go to these whole other realms of depth. But I love that there are so many partnerships and creative relationships. And
just adds a different level of like solidity or something to it. And yeah, I don't know exactly how to describe it, but because there's so much history and so much just deep work already within the partnership, when you enter into that space together, it's like it all comes with, and all the love, all the like tenderness and everything. So I feel like it's definitely my favorite way to create with people I love. So
it's like a safe vulnerability, which makes good art.
Yeah. Super vulnerable. Love it.
So the song has all our full band in it. It features Biko and Aruna on the percussion, which is so amazing. Aruna's in it as well. Awesome. Duncan is on the fiddle, and he has this really wonderful, almost like cumbia style fiddle. And David is playing a wonderful, almost Cuban style guitar. And so it has a really full sound. And again, I have so many of the visuals of the film in my mind. But can you talk a little bit also about the way that you kind of built the momentum, the way that the song kind of gets bigger? I feel like the film also gets bigger, you know, the shots get wider and broader, the movements get more staccato. Like, how did you want to lean into that? Or what drew you to those moments?
I think we told that story, like the reason it feels like it gets bigger and bigger is because we took those moments to really highlight nature.
Cool.
Yeah, like instead of just like being zoomed in on like one perspective, like in camera, we wanted to tell that story by showing how big and expansive like New Mexico is.
That's beautiful.
And it's just I don't know, I love to pair like really close up imagery with really far away imagery, just because we get in our heads so much, like as humans in our day-to-day life. So when we step into these realms of like watching media and stuff, like I want the viewer to really just be reminded of like how small we really are in comparison to nature.
Totally.
So just like interweaving that and kind of tuning into the energy of the different nature locations, it kind of placed itself in the editing process, and but the different like dancers, and it just like very naturally flowed. Like the part where it gets really like hype at the end, like was perfect for Juliet's dance.
Yeah, the dancers are amazing. The dancers are amazing. And I love that you just said that as it got kind of bigger, the way you wanted to create a visual space representation of that is to get further away in a way, like to see, oh, we're tiny, we're just tiny.
It's so funny because I thought I knew how far I wanted to get away during imagery and capturing imagery. I'm always telling Summit like only get this high, but then recently he like went even higher, and then to see the difference of like being a teeny tiny speck rather than being like penny sized, I'm like, oh my god, this is like a whole different level of feeling how small we really are.
That's so beautiful. I mean, I feel like that is the most humbling thing in the world, is to just realize how tiny our lives and our drama and our stories are in relationship to this wide world, and then you get wider than that to this wide universe.
And New Mexico in particular just really deeply touched me in a way I've never been touched before, with the stones and the cliffs that they had there, and the faces that you see within the stones, and just taking time and taking moments to be with those stones, like, and how big those are and how much wisdom they carry. I just really found that a really big part of the process too, of like being inspired while we were there and feeling into where to go and how to dance. So
and I know, because we have danced together, that you're a beautiful practice dancer as well as choreographer. I'll get my.
She doesn't say it much, but she's an insane dancer.
I'll get into Jade's choreography next video. But did you choreograph the dancers, or did you sort of work with them within the song and let them choreograph the pieces? Like, how did that relationship grow?
Yeah, so the dance was all improv, and if there's any kind of choreography, I'd call it like structured improv. And a lot of the times when I do a piece, especially a more improvisational piece, I'll listen to the song a bunch, and I'll kind of see these different shapes and imagery, or just different shapes and formations that I want to see from a drone, or that I want to like just see visually. So there were like a few, like there you'll see like a drone shot in there where we have our, like, me and Andrea have our hands pointed towards each other, and that was something that I just really saw beforehand. So I structured that out and we did that. But all the other moments, I wanted each dancer, since they were all local and native to New Mexico, I wanted to feel their dance, and I wanted to feel how they move with the land and really highlight that, because it's just so beautiful. Like when people are from the place, they move a very different way and know things like so differently. So I just wanted to learn about the place through them and through their movement.
I love that. That's so beautiful. I feel like that's our hope with the songs too, that they like get to land in each person and kind of become that person's interpretation process, emotional relationship to it. I like that you just said that you wanted to like learn the land through the movers that are of that place, which is so beautiful.
I learned a lot too. Like they were all such muses, and I felt so honored to work with them all. Like, so it was so fun. Okay, and maybe this is too candid for the interview, but you and Summit, Earth-Based Media Partnership Supreme,
basically got a pickup truck
Yeah.
and camped in the pickup truck and cruised around New Mexico and found the spots as you were going and listened to the song in the car stereo and like bathed in the river and made a road trip out of it.
Yeah, which is, it goes back to, you know, this was a very different way of creating any video that we've ever done, and I was honestly very nervous going into it. I was like, oh my gosh, like, what are we going to do? Like, I don't know New Mexico at all. I don't know any of the locations, like,
because you usually have things
I'm so structured. It's insane. Like, I'm a very structured, planned out person. That's why I love creating with you guys, because you guys take me back to like the beginning of my creative journey, where it was just like, oh, I'll pull from here, I'll do this, I feel this. So yeah, it was amazing to kind of return to that. And yeah, Sabin and I just had to be in like deep listening and deep intuition the whole time, and just talk to locals, hear different stories of different places, and form a plan as we went. And it was awesome. And it just like integrated us into the land even more. Like sleeping in the car at some points and bathing the rivers, like you said. Like, yeah, it was a whole just like very flowy creative process.
You became part of the land. Well, we were just talking about the dancers and your sort of role as choreographer, but also as muse tender. You sort of find people and put them in the places and kind of bait the creativity to happen. But I know that you have a collaborative partner, and the two of you work together in creating these incredible visual journeys. So who is doing what and where and how?
Yeah, so Earth-Based Media is a collaboration between my partner Summit and I, and he is an amazing filmmaker. So basically, I have these really crazy, wild visions and dances, and he brings it to life with his vision and his videography and such. So yeah, it's a very special partnership, or collaborative partnership, because we couldn't do it without each other.
And I've seen you work together. You sort of answer each other's questions, and one of you has a vision and the other one's got execution, but then the other, there's like, it's so similar to the way Chloe and I work, you know, where it's like trying to get a big vision articulated in a way that language isn't really your best tool. You kind of have to read each other's minds and also hope that your partner has some of the skills that maybe you don't, but you have some of the skills that they don't, and you get there. But we would like to bring in the man behind the scenes, the one and the only
Summit Jeffy. Wait, come on,
get on camera.
Yeah. What? Tell us what you do.
Film everything. I film everything.
Everything.
All of it.
This one was a really important one to me to know and understand. So as filmmakers in Appalachia, but with your roots deeply linked to Mexican culture, and as really avid travelers, which I think we all share, how did you tie in imagery with the lineage of your work, with the imagery of the song? Agua de la Madre, I think of as an elemental ballad, bolero in a way. My relationship as a student to the bolero traditions. So how did you pair the desert elements, the forest elements, the parched earth, and the thick jungle?
Yeah, so this is a really beautiful question, because it also ties back to the other question about why I chose this song. And so for me, since I've been doing like a lot of lineage work in my life, I found that art is a beautiful way to do deep work like that. And specifically because art, if you put an intention while doing an art piece, it's going to teach you everything you ask in a really almost poetic way. and it calls you into this place of embodiment.
I like that.
Like full embodiment. Like you have to embody it fully to be able to create it. So when I heard the song, it really spoke to that part of my lineage, like my Mexican roots, and it called me forth to create a piece that was very almost like a love letter to my Mexican ancestors,
like an homage.
And
in a way.
yeah, I would say like a lot of the creative direction is just like a celebration, almost like Mexican pride. And a lot of the costume and imagery and dance, all of it, like I would say, would be tied to that exploration of lineage work.
I love that.
And yeah, and I love, like, even though I live so far from where my roots are from, it's still a big part in all of my work is just this connection to our ancestors and our lineage. And I always make sure in any container that I create that we're always taking the time to call in our ancestors, whether it's just taking the moments to call in our great grandmother's names, our grandmother's names, our mother's names, just saying like the names, and also calling ourselves in, calling all who came before us, calling in the waters where our ancestors know very well, and yeah, just really taking the moment to like call that into the space. And so I feel like that creates this cultural diversity in my work, because we're taking the moments to create space for it.
Calling it in. I love that. I know we talked about it a lot in the making of the film, but also, you know, just to hear you articulate it and really talk about it being the love letter and the homage to your own lineage is so beautiful.
It was so tender to create because of that, and just getting to dance for my ancestors, like in this film, and so close to where I'm from as well. And all the women who were that I casted for the film were of Mexican American and Native ancestry. So it created this whole other level of celebration of Mexican culture and Hispanic culture. So it was a great honor to like create this and just embody my heritage that much deeper.
I love that. I feel like the song and we work really hard to create music that is a bridge, and it's a bridge between story and a bridge between culture, a bridge between our love of traditional music and our studies of traditional music everywhere we go. I lived in Latin America for many years, but also our love of folk music and the folkloric traditions, that front porch music. And our hope is that it's always doing exactly that, that it's bringing people to the table to write love letters to their lineages, to their homeland, to their spirits, to the waters. So
that's a beautiful intention.
I love that. So Agua de la Madre means so many things to me, and I think also in the creative process that you all in Earth-Based Media did, and also to my sister as a new mother. The meanings are really for also the listeners to interpret, but obviously we want to talk about the role of the mother, you know, Agua de la Madre, the role of the water bearer, but also the role of the mother. And you know, that's something we touched on the film. We featured my sister as a new mother, but how else did that land with you in during the visuals?
Yeah, well, it felt, that was one of the first images that also came to me when I was first visioning for this video, because me and Chloe had recently talked about making like some kind of piece about motherhood just for fun. So it just like kind of clicked in, and it just felt like a really beautiful opportunity, because I just wanted to highlight the beauty of motherhood, because it's not something we always see portrayed in imagery and media or just anywhere. And sometimes we see like beautiful imagery of like pregnant women, but like I want to see the beauty of like what happens after birth and the raising of the child, and like that connection. So it felt like an honor to get to tell that story and like capture that beauty, because Chloe's a beautiful mother.
She's a beautiful
and the way she
mom.
raises Kaleo and just is with Kaleo is like so stunning.
I
so
love that.
yeah.
And Kalea's are what we call our resident spark plug. And you got to see the beauty of mothering in the sense that it was, we kind of had to chase his his energy that day to get that.
Yeah, no, it was such an experience. We all just had to be really like in tune and quiet, like with Kaleo.
Yeah.
Like, what does he need?
It was Kaleo's
what does
shot.
he want to do? Yeah, so it was beautiful.
Well, he'll love his cameo feature when he's old enough to know that he is our first image to the altar of motherhood. Yeah. So one of my favorite parts of the creative process, and I know we share this in so many ways, is like all the ways that creativity merges. So it's like, it's a bit of music, it's a bit of imagery, it's a bit of cultural recognizing, it's a bit of visual art. And I know that you and I also have both studied pottery and love pottery, and you made some of the pieces in the film. And what was the sort of significance in your lens of the clay, the actual vessels, and that earth element?
Yeah, well, pottery to me like came into my life really deeply a few years ago. I mean, I was doing pottery a while back, but not in this way. It kind of came in when I started just like going deeper into my Mexican lineage and just seeing how the symbology of vessels and pots are just used so much in Mexican culture, like all in all aspects. So I just had this like urge one day. I'm like, I need to create vessels. Like, I don't know how to do it. So I just got the clay and I just hand built it.
It's a great urge.
I know. It was just I need
vessels.
I have the ancestral urge to create a vessel.
I love that.
So yeah, whenever I go into that space with pottery now, it feels like I'm a direct way to connect to my ancestors.
Yeah.
And just feeling all the times like within my lineage, like they've worked with the clay and then in this moment that I get to do that and carry that as well.
I love that.
So it was just like something that felt very natural to create a vessel for this film. And I created this little vessel that was very inspired by some of the vessels that I saw in Oaxaca last year. And yeah, I just wanted like again just to continue on like the love letter to my lineage and just tie it in. And also the symbology of vessels to me is like the symbology of like the water bearer, like the women who carry the water in the cultures, but not just physically, but metaphorically. Like water, if you think about like water does, it nourishes, it gives life, it inspires, and
it carves the edges,
it heals, it carves
smooths.
I love that. Yeah. So just all those things that you think of with water, like being the one to carry the water, like it's such a beautiful like responsibility and honor. And to do that through art it just ties in. So it's just a really special symbol to me. It's just the water bearer.
Agua de la Madre is like, it's all of the references of the water bearer, but also the mother energy, but also the feminine, which is also the water element. Or there's just so many. There's so many visual references.
Yeah, that was one of the things we were like, oh, we're gonna go to New Mexico. I don't know why, because there's not a lot of water in the desert, but that was one of the things we wanted to tie in, was that symbology, because we didn't know if there was going to be a way to incorporate the water in the desert, but there actually was a lot of water in Taos and I had no idea.
And I mean, it was done so beautifully, just to kind of pull in a few more of the references for folks that are seeing it for the first time, or like wondering all the pieces, the lyrics are also this notion of kind of an organic, or what I would call an elemental ballad, or bolero, which is the kind of Latin American tradition of the ballad, the song, and it's like pulls in all of these metaphors of the earth, the sea, the sky, the stars, the water, the woman, you know, and also Agua de la Madre being the waters of the earth. Water is life, like just tying in all of those parts of our elemental mother as well.
Yeah, the lyrics just like drew me in so much because of that. So yeah, it just was so easy to have all those imageries just come in.
Yeah, and you guys nailed it. It's so beautiful, and it translates. I think it brings the song to life in a way that it really could have never done without this component and without the story of this film. So if you haven't had a chance to see it, please take a look at it, because it is a complete part of the picture of the song and the meaning of the song, the lineages and the love letters and the movement and the muses. So thanks for talking to me about it.
Of course. Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks for trusting us with this beautiful song and vision.